The 50 years from the 1821 ending of the Spanish-Mexican War to 1870 was significant for the changes arising from human events. The changeover from Spanish to Mexican control shifted power from missionaries to secular governors and powerful ranching families. During this time, the grapevine route was developed. Traveling through the Tejon Pass was dangerous and challenging. One could encounter a great number of grizzly bears eating acorns under the big oak trees, looking like bands of large cattle. A famous incident involved the death of Peter Lebeck in 1837 by grizzly bear. The local town of Lebeck was named for that event.
Well, that's not really my name. But I don't believe any of you have learned how to speak Grizzly, so with the wisdom that comes with death, I have learned to speak your language. And, well, you see, my paw is deformed in being very literal creatures. Well, short paw is. Anyway, I was born a very, very long time ago. Long before your kind came over the Great Northern Bridge. And most certainly before more of you arrived by ships with guns. And more of you arrived on horseback with even more guns. I lived and died a long, long time ago, before your kind ever stepped foot on this land. I had many babies. Every 3 years or so, I had 1 or 2 cubs. And one particularly abundant year, I had 4. I lived here in these surrounding mountains, and my cubs and their cubs were never wanting for food. We spread far and wide all over this mountain range, and we were in the Great Central Valley, to the north, to the south, to the west, to the east. Well, not too far east. Bears don't do well in deserts. When you looked out over the grasslands, we did indeed dot the horizon like cattle. There were pine nuts and acorns, rose hips, elderberries, gooseberries, manzanita berries. And when the spirit would move us, we might even take a deer or an elk. And then when you showed up and brought pig, well, we enjoyed that too. But that's another story. We would never want for anything. The streams were full and the water was fresh. There were mountain lion, bobcat, rabbits, elk, beaver, and quail. Our little cousins, the black bears, lived on the coast. They didn't come inland too much. They didn't really want to compete with us, and there was more than enough for them out there. Then at 25, I died peacefully in my sleep. My life was idyllic, and maybe that's why my spirit remained. Then some 12,000 years ago, your kind showed up. Some of you could even speak to me in your dreams, and you called me by many names. I shared with you my story, much like we are now, and maybe now you will take some wisdom from it, much like they did then. You see, we weren't really enemies, but you have a tendency to gather, and we have a tendency to forge, so sometimes we forged what you had gathered. I know, bad sportsmanship on our part, but that's what bears do. Well, you didn't take too much, so sometimes you would kill us to protect your food, and I can understand that. But sometimes you would kill us for our meat, which is gross, and sometimes you would kill us for our fur to keep you warm, but that's still kind of gross. And sometimes you would kill us out of frustration, fear, or spite. We didn't really want to eat you, but well, if the situation presented itself, well, you taste a lot like chicken. But all in all, our lives, we lived side by side rather uneventfully. Or so I thought. Then a couple 100 years ago, a couple more of you showed up by ship and brought guns. Then even more of you arrived on horseback and brought even more guns. Ah, speak of the devil. I think I hear the ghost of one now. They can hear you, you know.
Okay, surprise. Vous êtes américains, hein? Oh, he's fantastic. Unbelievable. Excusez-moi. I have not had the opportunity to speak with anyone for a very long time. Formidable. It's a delight. Vous êtes très gentil. Merci beaucoup.
Dobre.
Fantastic. Excuse me. You know, it is very important that we speak our story with friends and family. If we don't, we forget who we are. Please let me remember myself with you. My name is Peter Jacques Lebeck. I was born in Saint Louis in 1790. Excusez-moi, St. Louis. Back then it was French territory. That was very much long time ago. I was the second of 10 children. I respected my father and loved my mother. She was very beautiful and sang so beautifully. She taught me the song I sing. Well, I should tell you how I come to be here. My father owned a dry goods business in Saint Louis, and as I came of age, I learned my father's business, which involved the trading of trade goods for fur, specifically beaver fur. You know, the beaver trade had been going on for 100 years before I came along. It was a huge business involving the most powerful nations vying for control for this greatly desired resource. But back to my humble part. My first independent venture occurred when I was 18. I struck out with 2 mules loaded with trade goods, heading for Santa Fe in Mexican territory. Santa Fe was a large trading area and also served as the winter base for the southwestern fur trade. I sold my goods and decided to join one of the fur company groups that would start north in the spring. I did it. I would become a voyageur. Huh? I should explain that most of the beaver hunting was done by groups of from 30 to 60 men, organized by the fur companies through their representative, the boss man for the expedition. One of many journeys that I participated in, I met the man who would eventually lead me to my death. His name was Jean-Baptiste Chalifot. Chalifot was a giant of a man with a personality to match. He was the boss man for the expedition, and all of us greatly respected his power as a leader. Chalifot was a man, well, he desired more from life, but with much less struggle. He had a plan and explained it to us during our long nights together. He told us of the vast and easy riches that awaited those who could provide the merchants and traders of Santa Fe with greatly needed horses and mules. When we returned to Santa Fe, we would strike out for Alta California, where there was an abundance of livestock to be had easily from the many ranchos and missions that would be very lightly guarded. We named our group Las Chaguanosos, the adventurers from many nations. We were French, American, Mexican, Indians, 60 in all. We traveled the old Spanish Trail to California in 1837. We began our livestock liberation campaign with the San Gabriel and San Fernando missions. We then disappeared into the mountains to hide out and to continue our raids. We decided we should have a base from where we could keep the horses and have much foraging opportunities. At that time, Las Cañas Uvas, grapevine, was not traversed by the Mexican soldiers, and the valley above at the Tijon Pass had much game and water. It was so beautiful and pleasing to me. I spent many days up in the valley. The golden hills surrounded the green valleys and the quiet blue of Castac Lake. I could always find respite in the shade of the willows and tall green grasses by Tijon Creek. The hills and valleys were laced with the majestic white oak trees. Standing underneath their massive branches reminded me of the big church in Santa Fe. It was so quiet and restful. And the game, it was like an orchard in summer. All I had to do was reach out with my gun. There was deer, antelope, badger, and beaver. Golden beaver, so called for its lighter color. And the most tremendous of all, the grizzly bears, weighing nearly 2,000 pounds. They were distinguished by cross markings between their shoulder blades. They roamed the entire valley and were as numerous as the grazing cattle of a rancho. One beautiful twilight, I had made camp with a few of my compatriots near Tijon Creek. We were happy, our bellies were full from food and liquor. I was feeling very full of myself, and I exclaimed, I am a hunter, it is my business, and I am very good at it. Everything in my life has led me to this time and this place. I had decided to take a rather large female grizzly that I had spied while taking another drink. Now, I had taken many grizzlies before, but in hindsight, I may have drunk a little too much. But I remember it so well. I had my rifle and my pistol and my knife, and I trailed it from the camp. I was quietly following it, and I got within 50 yards, close enough for me to take aim and fire. Perfect shot. She dropped like a log, heavy. So I was very excited. And I ran up to her, and I pulled my pistol as I approached to apply the coup de grace, so to speak, to the bear. And as I was leaning over to shoot, there was fantastic movement, and her arm came right at me, and everything went black. And I could hear something far off. It was very high-pitched and like a whistle, you know, very high and getting louder and louder. And it got so loud, I realized that it was me screaming as the bear fed on me. He ate my feet, my left hand, and my right arm. I next remember being in a dark place, but a rectangle of light above me. I could see my friends up above. One was carving my name in the tree. grave. Well, what should one take from this experience? You could be a hunter, a great hunter, an adventurer, an explorer. You could be a horse thief. But if you die a truly grisly death, they may name a town after you.
Anyway, back to me. Oh, such a drama queen. So, as I was saying, that first group of people trusted that second group of people because they had guns and could kill us. Obviously not so well at first. But as your guns got better, you got better at killing us. And I was saying the first group of people trusted this second, making life just a little bit easier for them. And that was the first group of people's downfall. Our downfall came when you discovered gold. You love gold. And why, I don't know. You can't eat it. I never saw its appeal. You hunted us for food, for our golden brown fur. You killed us because you felt we competed for resources, which is a silly notion, really, when you see how your population has grown. You captured us and pitted us against your long-horned steer in arenas for sport. Yeah, look that one up. You'll find that's the origin of your stock market mascots. But within 200 years, you killed us all off. In the early 1847, there were over 10,000 of us. And less than 75 years later, we were no more. Your historians argue about when the last grizzly died. Some say the last bear was taken from Mount Pinos and died in the San Francisco Zoo. And some say the last wild grizzly bear was taken from these mountains and killed or captured by men for another man named Hearst. The last time your record shows someone saw a grizzly in these mountains was in 1924. But you do not know when the last grizzly died. I do. He was a little male, his mother murdered by a man for sport. He was young, he was alone, and he was hungry. He was very different from how my story began, don't you think? However, since then I have noticed a change in your nature. You are not quite so fearful, not so reliant on guns, and some of you remind me of the first people. And maybe that is why we were able to speak today. So since I am able to share my wisdom once again, let me leave you with these last few thoughts. Now that we're gone, my little cousin, the black bear, has moved in to fill the void. You know nature abhors a vacuum, so they're here. And now they have made these mountains your home, and they're home. I ask that you learn to live side by side with my little cousins. There are plenty of elderberries and rose hips still on the top of this mountain. They do not need your handouts. They are not pigeons and they are not rats. They do not need to eat your trash. They are opportunistic and smart, and you are an easy touch. When you feed them, whether on purpose or by accident, you do them no favors. When they no longer fear humans, they get in trouble with humans who still fear them. So for both of your sakes, please stop feeding them.